There we go. Yes. There we go. Are we talking about wetness in chat for some reason? That's weird. What's up, Hive? What's up, Retsu? What's up, Insanity? What's up, PR? What's up, Hater? How are you guys doing? Preemptively too, I was going to stream Chain of Memories today, but it completely crashed like big time. So I had to try to figure out how to get that. Like it completely crashed my computer 3 times trying to launch the game. So very depressing because that was going to be the plan, but now I have no choice but to, I guess, do a just chatting stream because there's something else I have downloaded on my computer to play. I cry. Reg, what's up? How are you doing? Pack, what's up? How are you? How are you? What's up, Luke? What is up? Pack, thank you so much. Thank you. Retsu, thank you for being a tier 3 sub.
How fast time has passed. I'm so glad that I found you. You have changed my perspective in so many ways. You've changed at how I look at kindness, life, positivity, health.
That's so sweet, Retsu. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Y'all are so kind. Thank you. Bruce, what's up? How are you? I am doing great. What's up, Wallace? Do you care to tell us how your date was? I'm curious to know. I am always super curious about how dates go. Curl, what's up? How are you doing? Tokyo, how are you? PD, what's up? Double A, Hugo, Elite, how are you guys doing? DX, Uncle, how are you doing? I'm having a really good day. Really good day. Bert, how are you doing? What is
11
up?
months
Black
in
Mike,
and no
what's
stopping
up?
now. Happy sub anniversary, B Antisera. Love Antisera smoochies.
PR, thank you so much for being a tier 3 sub for 11 months. And I finally got to redeem those codes that you sent me for Final Fantasy, and I am so appreciative of them. Thank you. FBI, what's up? I wasn't gonna do another just chatting stream. I didn't even feel like I had anything that I wanted to talk about or go over today, but then I kind of didn't have any other choice. 5-8, welcome to the stream. We're so happy to have you here. How are you doing? Hater, did you eat today? Yes. Okay, so I actually just got back from ramen. So I had like one little assignment thing that I needed to finish because as I was telling you guys before, Bunny, what's up? Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Grizz, what's up? How are you? Initial, what's up? How are you? So I had like this one assignment thing that I needed to get done. And so next week is technically like my spring break. So I wanted to go and get ramen after I finished this assignment. So anyways, I haven't seen my cousin in a while. This is like the cousin that I'm closest to. And I was like, well, let's go get ramen. I haven't seen you in a while so we can like catch up. So anyways, we go eat ramen and stuff like that and everything is fine. And I drove and I was driving my Fiat. So we both get into the car and I'm trying to like back up, but I can't see past him because like for one, a Fiat is a very tiny car to begin with. DC, how are you doing? How's your day been? What's up, Iron? What's up, Kevin? So yeah, I'm trying to like back up, but I can't see past him to be able to back up. And so I'm like going like this, like trying to see around him. And I'm like, can you lean over a second? Like just a little bit so I can see out. And so he looks at me and he's like, you say I have a big head? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And so he looks like so hurt. And he's like, I'm not gonna let you see me for a week. And I was like, freaking do it then. I was like, you're just hurting yourself. You're not hurting me. But it was funny regardless. I had a lot of fun. Not only that, Moscow, what's up? How are you doing? Moscow. To make matters worse.
I love these just chatting stream because the chat is made up entirely of Chads and Polish cows.
Moscow, thank you for the bits. Thank you. What kind of ramen did you get? It was like a spicy tonkatsu miso-based ramen. I had never had it before, but it was very good. But then, like, to make matters worse, like, he was just joking about being upset, of course. But anyways, so before he had to leave because I had to stream, he's like going to get this box thing that I asked him to take to my garage because it was pretty
19
heavy.
months, where did the time go?
Eric, thank you so much for being a sub for 19 months. Thank you. Bog, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you. And Insanity, thank you for the bits. Thank you. What am I sipping on? I have ginger tea. And I also made one of these. This is that Google cocktail I was telling you guys about. that I made. It's like nice and green. I felt like it matched the green sweater quite a bit. And so anyways, yeah, I was like, can you take this box out or whatever into my garage? Somehow he managed to like grab this box, but then also like the strap of my purse. So then my purse flips and my purse ends up like on the ground. And then also somehow it like caught this coffee tumbler that I had. And that also flipped and it landed upside down in my purse. So it was just draining coffee into my purse. I was like, this is just ridiculous. Why? Why?
B, I'm so glad the MOG station finally worked. Can't wait to see all your new stuff, Antisera teehee.
I'm excited to see it too. I mean, I saw like what the code was about and stuff like that, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's just always like one thing after another, I feel like. But anyways, it was like a really fun time. Got to catch up because like not too long ago, he used to live in my area and then he had recently moved, so I haven't been able to see him.
At least it wasn't kimchi draining into your purse again.
I know! That's so freaking aggravating. So aggravating. And then also too, tomorrow I'm gonna have an early stream at noon. It'll be an early like just chatting stream or Chain of Memories. If I
you
get
need
that
a
working.
camera on you 24/7 and have your own show.
Yeah.
How's the fam drama?
I'm telling you, it's always ridiculous. Venom, what is up? How are you doing? I mean, my life is always like a movie, and then the crazy family dynamics just continue to get like worse and worse and worse. It's hard to even, it's like if I think about it to even try to explain some of the events, it's all so absurd and so crazy. I don't even know where I'd begin. But one thing that I did think that was quite interesting is I have a friend of mine who I knew back when I was in like, I want to say like elementary school or something like that. And I keep hearing when I say or something like that now because I was rewatching my stream yesterday and I think I said that like 100 times.
Early stream? Are you trying to have grouchy insanity visit?
Well, we can have a just chatting stream over coffee. You can have a cup of coffee too. Habit, welcome to the stream. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you. I will be back to this TikTok soon. I promise you. I promise you. What was I talking about? Steezy, welcome to the stream. We're so happy to have you here. How are you doing? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, okay, so this friend. So way back when, she ended up like living a few houses down from me. And my life was very chaotic, like my family dynamics and so forth was very chaotic in my childhood. And her situation wasn't too far off of that as well. And her parents were, specifically her dad, was very, very rough on her and so forth. So anyways, I used to convince her to sneak out of her house at night to come and just like hang out with me. And I taught her how to like take the screen off of her door so that she could like go through the window and come hang out with me at night. And I know it sounds crazy and it sounds like I'm super bad influence, but her life was so crazy at that time to where I was like, at least we're not even going off to do anything bad, just to get away from that stuff, I guess. And so anyway, this all came about because she texted me today and she's like, hey, remember when you taught me how to break out of my house?
Here. I'm not running your poll cause you have me blocked. Lulul, get wrecked.
Hi, thank you for the donation. Thank you, thank you. Wallace, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. Kale, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate you. Thank you,
So picked the lady up and went to open the car door. She yelled at me that she wasn't a child and she could open it herself.
What?
That set the mood for the night. Escape room was fun.
What?
Then after went for drinks and she got tips.
She complained about her boyfriend on a date with you? Am I understanding that correctly? Wallace, I feel like you dodged a bullet, to be honest with you. Dodged a bullet. Air, what's up? How are you doing?
Since I've seen a stream. Missed this. Hope you've been well less than 3.
TCK, thank you so much for being a sub for 8 months. I really, really appreciate you. We have missed you. We have missed you. So like a little more background on the story. So her family dynamics were super crazy. And their house was like a hoarder house. Worse than I've ever seen on TV. I mean, it was insane. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. And it's like, her dad had a lot of mental issues. So when I say these things that sound crazy, there's literally a medical reason why these things happen. Not that I'm saying that these things are right, but just to give you guys like a little context of just like how bizarre this entire thing was. So her house was like a hoarder house to the extreme. And at one point, her dad got mad at her and like locked her out of the house as kids. Like we were children in elementary school. And so her kitchen window wouldn't lock all the way, so it would only open up like this much. And I was always so teeny tiny, even tinier back then, that I remember one time she had me like break into her house to open up the front door so that she could go and get some clothes because she didn't have anything. I mean, it was really sad. But I recall specifically like having to slide over this kitchen table that was just filth. It's like if you think of like Resident Evil, is it 6, the one that was in Louisiana? If you think of that whole kitchen look, it was like that. Like I was sliding over all of this rotting food and everything, trying to get into this girl's house so I could open the door for her so she could go get some clothes, because basically her parents were like, you're gonna go stay with your grandparents, whatever. Anyways, so she texted me today, she's like, remember how you taught me how to break out of my house?
Fear not, I am here.
Zesty, what's up? Thank you so much for the bits. I really, really appreciate it. So anyways, I was like, I would stand at her window and I'd be like, yeah, so we can just like push the screen off and stuff and I can show you how to get out of there. And so she would climb out of her window and come hang out with me. And then eventually her dad found out that she was sneaking out of the house with me. So he put some screws on the window area so that we couldn't slide the door open or close. And so I was like, I'll be back. Let me go get my screwdriver. I'll get you out of there. So I took out the screws that her dad had put on the window to keep her in the house, which is epic.
I would rather have a platonic female friend of your caliber than date again. I know I would have someone like you in my corner that is emotionally stable and has maturity that most people strive for. So can we become lifelong close?
Don't bother me. Wallace, thank you for the bits. It is very difficult to find
can you teach me how to break
people.
into a house? I've been stuck in the cold for 11 months, lol.
PR, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. And Wallace, it is very difficult to find genuine people, especially mature, genuine people. I know it's very, very difficult. And so, yeah, I took the screws out of the window and she was very heavy set all throughout her life, I guess you could say. And so anyways, I had gotten her window open and she had like this giant bush hedge thing in front of it. And so I was small enough to just like go under the bush and then I could just like fit in between the wall and the bush. But she wasn't able to do that. So I opened the window and she tries to get out of the window, but she like landed in the bushes so hard that it like cracked so many of the branches to where when she like got out of it, you could literally see that there was like a human body shape that had landed on these bushes, which was so, it was so funny. And at one point, it was funny because her dad asked her about it and I was like, we couldn't even lie that didn't happen, because I mean, it was like she took out the entire bush. And it was so visible because like when you're driving down the road, like this was the main part that you saw. So it just had like a giant body shape in it. It was freaking epic, but it was so funny. Oh, she's like, do you remember back then? And I was like, oh yeah, I remember. I remember. Crazy times. Bila, what's up? How are you doing? How's your day been? We had some interesting times. But like I was saying, tomorrow we will have an early stream. It'll be at noon tomorrow, and it'll still be relatively short. But I have a friend's birthday I have to go to tomorrow, so sadly it'll have to be an early stream, which is, it seems like everybody within like my friend group, I could say, it's like our lives are, it's like a movie. It's crazy. It's insane. It is always insane. DX thought you were gonna say she got stuck in the window or something. No, I mean, I feel like that's happened a few times, but...
It's not my birthday, WTF.
Are people saying it's your birthday? Insanity, thank you for the bits. Thank you, Snake. What is up? What is up? What is up? So this friend of mine, I go to this birthday every year, and it's just so crazy how this stuff happens. Cause like one year, I wish I could express to you guys the epicness that is this friend, which also too, I'll go into a story about the last time that I went camping with this particular friend, which was quite the ordeal, but regardless, one year, it's like the stuff, this guy was like sitting at this table, and for whatever reason, I can't remember why, it might have been like the AC or something was too cold for him. So he goes to stand up and walk off. And we were at this like Italian restaurant, and I kid you not, the entire freaking chandelier uprooted itself from the ceiling. And it crashed down right where he was sitting. So I mean, if he wouldn't have gotten up, that whole freaking chandelier, like giant decorative chandelier.
Locked the door and forgot my key. The porch was locked. I had to climb out of a 7 feet high window that was about 50 centimeters wide.
Nemo, thank you so much for being a tier 3 sub for 21 months. I really, really appreciate you, Nemo. Thank you. Kuro, that is insane. That is insane. I mean, I guess stuff like that kind of happens at some point in your life, right? Where you have like no choice but to just try to make it work. Brian, what's up? How are you doing? But yeah. So, and it's like everything that happens to this poor guy, it's like he's just standing there in like this complete disbelief, which is understandable, don't get me wrong.
Much love, B handshake.
But Oreo, thank you so much for being a sub for 17 months. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you. But I mean, it's like these things that happen, I'm just like, how do these, like, I've never been to a restaurant where an entire chandelier uprooted itself.
Only time I got locked out was when I home alone in a blizzard with the flu laughing face. I can't tell if you are insanely lucky or unlucky, ha ha ha.
Well, at least I wasn't the one that was almost hit by the chandelier. Ratsu, thank you for the bits. I have been locked out of my house multiple times. Well, not my house particular, but like my parents' house. But at least I'm small enough to fit through the doggy door, so I can just wiggle my way back in the house.
When I worked at the gym, I watched from the front desk as a ceiling fan fell onto a treadmill directly next to the only person using a treadmill at the time. That was a fun accident report.
That's crazy. Yeah, talking about my smallness too, when I went to go eat ramen today, there's a private school that is relatively close to me.
So when I was like 6, me and my babysitter accidentally locked ourselves out of the house, and I had to go through the doggy door that was big enough for a wiener dog.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. You made it work though, you made it work. So this private school had just gotten out, and the private school uniform has like a skirt that's very similar to mine. Anyways, got to the ramen place, it was super freaking packed.
New benefit to dating B. If you forget your key, there's always the cat flap lol. That's
true, I can fit. Which is ridiculous, like how, I don't know. I just never grew. What was I talking about? Oh, ramen. Okay, so all the girls that just got out of this private school all have like the same skirt, basically like me. And so anyways, we're super packed in the ramen shop. And I was like, well, we can just go sit at like the little bar area, eat ramen. Had to be back before stream. And so anyways, it was funny because at first they were trying to seat us like in this back area that I didn't want to sit at. And so I was like, can we just go sit over here at the bar? And he was like, you know, you have to be 21 or older to go and sit at the bar. And I'm like, do you think I'm not too older than 21? I mean, I guess I do have like the same semi-uniform as like these girls do, but I'm like, I'm old enough to sit at the bar. I'm old enough. But this particular particular friend.
Well, with
Insanity,
kimchi
thank you
eye
for
and
the
puddles,
bits.
you need a
Thank
big flap for them to fit. It is said with love be, not malice.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. Yeah, definitely. Puddles and kimchi are both quite large. So the last time I had gone camping with this particular friend, which is like, the guy means no harm. He is super sweet at heart, but things just never go wrong for him, right? So like when this whole chandelier thing happened, I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on, but you have some bad juju attached to you, because that is like some crazy Final Destination stuff going on here. Zesty.
Show him your ID, then ask for a booster seat for the bar chair.
Zesty, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. It's basically like quite a few friends of mine, my cousins and so forth, cousins' girlfriends, we all decided to go camping. And this particular friend with the whole like chandelier whole situation is all about, he's never done anything outdoorsy, ever. But he's always like, I'm an outdoorsy man, and all I need is one backpack, and that's all I need, and I can survive. And I was like, okay, great. So we plan this trip.
One day I was taking care of my sister's dogs and one of them locked me out of the house by pushing the door. So the only window that was open was her bedroom one, so I had to climb a freaking tall tree in order to get to her window, not like this.
Sin, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So here we got this friend who, he's quite the trip to begin with, right? So yeah, he's like, I'm gonna be some burly outdoorsy man or whatever. So anyways, we have like this, you know, like the, who's gonna be riding with who. So I go to pick him up at his parents' house. He's standing in the front yard. He's got like he's very large. And he's got like this teeny tiny little backpack and he's standing there and he's like, I'm ready for this. Like, we're gonna go and have like this outdoorsy adventure.
I can survive in the wild with just a backpack too. Not for long, but that's
Zesty.
besides the point.
Which is not wrong for anybody who wants to do that. That is perfectly cool and fine if you are capable of knowing what camping the conditions are gonna be. And you know, there's some people that are a little like better at survivalist type things compared to somebody who had like never done that before, right? So anyways, drive over to his parents' house, standing there in the driveway. I was like, all right, let's go. So get to the little camping area. And the entire time, like he's telling me all this stuff that he's ordered and that he has in this pack. And he's going over this like blanket and how this blanket is supposed to like protect him up until like a certain temperature. And I had told him, and I was like, it's gonna get very cold at night. Like I already checked the weather and stuff. He's like, I don't need it. It is impossible for it to be like more than this. So anyways, we get to the campsite. I put up my tent and then he goes to put up his tent. And it was the most absurd thing I have ever seen in my life. Like it's supposed to be a single person tent, but this thing, I swear to you, was literally a body bag with like a stick right here and then like a stick at his feet. And when he got in this, and he's very tall, and then he is also quite large, when he was in the tent and he'd breathe, you could see the fabric moving across this guy's face. It was so funny. And his little pillow that came out of his pack was like this big. The little blanket was like, it was so tiny. And this thing was supposed to like protect him from all these like crazy temperatures. And it's like, I have a photo and I wish I could find it, but I was like looking at it, I was like, this is a destroyed man. I was like, if I put this on the Amazon review of whatever the hell you bought, like it would have been the best review ever. But anyways, I mean, it just became one thing after another. And then, you know, it's quite common that possums or raccoons will come to your campsite.
I have a lot of experience being homeless in the woods thanks to the army. I can make it worth with a Jan Sport backpack for a few days.
I bet you can. I bet you can, no doubt.
I love the outdoors, walking from my fire pit to my 2-story cabin with AC and satellite TV. That's camping, right?
PR, thank you for the bits. Thank you. Shadow, what's up? How are you doing? No, it wasn't a blow-up pillow. It was just like literally a little pillow that was like the size of nothing. So, of course, the weather is awful, which I also enjoy, because it's like the more that it sucks, the funner it is for me, because it's like you have to figure out how to handle the situation, right? Which is, I was like, okay, I'll cook. And she's like, I'm gonna start the fire. Just watch this. I know how to start a fire. So I was like, okay, you start the fire. I'm gonna go get like charcoal or something like that for this other little grill area thing that I had. But he was trying to make like the little bonfire type thing. Of course, I get back, none of this stuff works. He cannot get the fire started when he was all about being so rugged and like, I'm gonna get the fire started. So it starts raining, it's freezing. As soon as it gets dark, he starts getting like paranoid that there's animals around the camp that he feels like he's in danger.
Most dangerous thing in the UK is squirrels. I would die out there alone, pensive face.
Carl, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's quite a bit of interesting stuff, I guess, in the South. And so, Flacco, thank you so much for being a sub for 20 months. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it's really cold. I can hear the raccoons and stuff like going from camp to camp. And so anyways, there's like just some little critter shuffling around. Well, it freaks him out like I can't even explain, I guess, how unsettled he became. And it's something that I never even think about, because I've been camping ever since I was a little girl, so that stuff has never really spooked me to begin with. But it was freaking him out. And I think there was like a raccoon or something like that that had brushed next to his little body bag that was his tent. And he's like, B, he's like, is that you? And I was like, it is 3 a.m. in the morning and it's raining. I promise you, I am never trying to get into your tent, okay? And so the temperature continued to drop. I was super prepared for this. I was nice and cozy in my little sleeping bag.
Let's go camping in June, Grand Canyon or Grand Tetons. Bianca or bust. Let's go. Dibs on sharing a tent with B.
Flawless, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. I've never been to either of those places, but I'd love to. No, I would not have fit in that body bag tent thing. Even if it was just me in there, I still would have felt super claustrophobic. So anyway, he was trying to convince me. He's like, please, B, let me come into your tent, please. I'm so cold. And I was like, absolutely not. I warned you. You're not gonna come into my tent. It was ridiculous, but it was so funny because it's like these things that happen are just so absurd. I love it. I love it. I love it. But it makes me want to go camping again. I was dying from laughter from my warm tent. Yes, very true.
But you didn't need to murder that poor man when he asked if it was you. Ha ha ha. No, it's not me. I would never be sneaking into your tent. Ha ha ha.
That's what I said. I was like, come on, dude. Come on. You know I'd never be trying to get into your tent.
Now let's go camping in Appalachia. I'll bring the party, aka guns and booze.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. Football, what's up? How are you doing? I know, but it was so funny because the entire time it's always, I wish I could think of somebody I could relate him to. But it was just always like left him speechless that these things would just befall him.
Let's just mix Beacon and Burning Man and just have all of us wander into the desert as a group and try to survive.
Zesty, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yeah, it was quite the interesting time. Quite the interesting time.
Raccoons are deceptively vicious. You think they're all sweet and cute. Not close. One attacked me in survival school. All my men thought it was hilarious, the LT almost getting his butt kicked by a stuffed animal creature.
What? I mean, they have really long nails. I know that for sure. They can do some damage.
The joy I would have scaring this friend of yours with small critters.
Listen, I almost feel bad too because so much stuff happens. Like crazy things happen to me, but they're not like to a sad level, you know?
If he had even a fraction of my swagger, he would have made it into your tent and survived the night. Remember, kids, having game could save your life.
Moscow, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was quite the time. I mean, it's just, I don't want that to sound like pitiful or anything like that. It's just different. It's different things to where things that happen to me, I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is so absurd. But it's also like not necessarily in a bad way. But with him, it's like everything goes wrong to the extreme in the reverse. It's always chaos. Always. DX, you didn't have to tell scary stories either. You had all the entertainment you needed. Very true. 1000%. 1000%. But I haven't gone camping in so long, and I've been thinking about maybe planning a trip here soon, but I don't know. There's many things that I want to do. I want to go on some type of mini vacation soon, but tease, what a tease.
So I have a 2-person hammock. B gets first dibs, but since we know she will decline, who wants to be my snuggle buddy?
I love hammocks. I love hammocks.
Survival
Wallace,
of the fittest or most prepared. Still trying to find Methuselah oldest tree in the USA when I go hiking.
Wallace, thank you for the bits. Pack, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you.
So what are you doing fun for spring break?
Nothing particular. I mean, even if it is spring break, I do still have
I'll
stuff that I
take
have
it
to do.
insanity. Also, B, you just call someone and you know they going anywhere with ya.
Wetsu, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yeah, I have some school stuff that I still have to do regardless, even if it is spring break, even if I don't have like my official class lectures and so forth. So there's not too much right now that I can kind of do, which is very interesting as well, because like usually I work 40 hours a week and then I also go to school full time on top of that as well. And so it's been kind of interesting taking a stronger stance in school compared to working my hours at the hospital. It's been very interesting, which I still don't have as much time as I did when I was like working full time at the hospital as well, which is curious, very curious, but regardless, it's still a fun time. I enjoy physics far more than I ever enjoyed nursing school. DX, how are you liking All of Us Are Dead so far? I think I was talking about that a little bit yesterday. I'm personally not a huge fan of zombie shows. I feel like they get kind of silly to me in a sense, I guess. I love the way that it's shot. It's beautiful. But I've only watched, I think, 2 or 3 episodes of it, and I'm kind of like still on the fence. I'm not too sold on it. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it.
You get to get caught up on watching them lectures maybe a 3rd time rather than just 2? To get the nuances, lol.
Yeah, oh, sometimes I do. Sometimes. Even if I'm doing things like playing games, I'll always have a lecture or something playing on the background. And every now and then I'll pick out something new or a different perspective than I didn't have prior to that. Quite often. Furious, what's up? How are you doing? How are you? How are you? Hater, your schooling is just that much more demanding. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a time constraint in the sense that if you have your lectures, I did the majority of my FLEF classes, like whenever you have to do your literature and so forth, I get that stuff done at the beginning of my degree. I did the same thing with nursing and doing the same thing here with physics. That way, whenever I have my harder classes, I can focus on them more intently, I guess, than
we should do a vote for you holiday
ton.
location. I say Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls to scratch that hiking itch.
I haven't been, yeah, it's either. I haven't seen Niagara Falls. I really want to see Niagara Falls, for sure. Wallace, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you, thank you. But so yeah, I will get as many of like the FLEF classes out of the way as I can, so that way I can take like less courses, but my harder courses, instead of having like 5 classes that I'm taking at one time. Even if like 4 of them are easy and then 1 is difficult, it's still just the time issue. So I try to take my more difficult classes whenever I have, like, I can take them more, not individual, but I can have 2 difficult classes at once instead of taking 5 easy classes, if that means anything. But the thing is too, is with education, it's like I can have lectures in the morning, then I have other practicums and so forth that I have to do throughout the day, and then I'll have a random lecture like later, so it's just like these weird gap times.
How much of the prerequisites in your nursing degree covered your prerequisites in your physics? Was there much overlap?
No, there was not many overlaps at all. I'll go into that here in a
The last
second.
time I went camping, I bought a tent that went in the bed of my truck so I could put a full-sized mattress in.
That sounds
really cool. It was the best.
I've never seen one like that, but that sounds very interesting. Very, very cool.
Wait, B? When did you go back to school? I don't remember you talking about it when you started streaming.
When I went back to school,
Any ad
I've been in
vibe on
school for
working
quite a
and
while
doing
now.
school at the same time?
Aquarius, welcome to the stream. We're so happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? Snake, any advice on working and doing school at the same time? Yes, I will go into that here in a second. Let me see what Pac said. Yeah, so my prerequisites for my nursing, there's some things that overlap, like obviously like Kim, my like micro and stuff like that kind of satisfied my science requirements that were kind of an elective, I guess you could say. Of course, like my English, my history, and that kind of stuff, they crossed over, which is fine. So those will still satisfy those requirements. But when it comes down to actual core bulk things of physics, not much really did. Just my basic prerequisites, my English, yeah, government, that kind of stuff, you know? So any advice on working and doing school at the same time? It's not easy. I tell my little brother quite often that if you can go to school while you live with your parents, that's always preferred. That way you're not trying to do both at the same time, but I fully understand that that's not feasible for many people. I personally worked full-time and then also went to school full-time as I was growing up. However, I mean, whenever it comes down to it, I think it's all time management, and it sucks. It's always gonna suck. And I've had many friends throughout my life. I remember one specifically, like he worked at a movie theater. We both went to high school at the same time. And I was studying to be an EMT back in the day as a bridge to my nursing.
Hope you are doing well and you are looking amazing. Hope you have an amazing weekend as well.
Messa, thank you so much for the donation. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so that being said, I would always say I, do this at this time and then this at this time, but he was always like, it's just not that easy, B, and like maybe, you're always saying this or that, but I can't because whatever reason. You can always come up with a ton of excuses why you can't do something, but at the end of the day, if you are an adult, you're capable of changing your situation, is my opinion. So it may suck to have to work and to go to school at the same time, but if you're gonna do it for your future, is it not worth it then? Because I certainly think that it is. But I feel like a lot of people, humanity as a whole, has a shockingly low willpower and ability to suffer. So many times people will complain about, I can't do this or I can't do that, and the same person still works at the same movie theater all these years later, which is perfectly fine. But also, I can't stand people who complain about their life and that they were dealt all these bad hands.
My truck has an 8-foot-long bed, and I could stand up in the tent, and I am 5 feet 8 inches.
Eric, thank you so much for the bits. That sounds awesome. I'll have to look into those. I mean, I don't have a truck, but that sounds really cool. Really, really cool.
What other sciences are you taking? And do you need a lab partner? Cause I think we have chemistry. Laughing face.
PR, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. Joe, you put it nicely, people are lazy. Extremely, extremely lazy. And they do not have the ability to suffer quite often, because I was most definitely not handed an easy deck of cards to begin my life at all. But that's never stopped me.
Is that inability to suffer and sacrifice an American thing, a Western thing, or generally a humanity thing?
I think it's a humanity thing, and then I think it's also a society thing. Personally, I feel like our whole era now, it's more so, it's like, do what you feel, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to do it. It's like,
do you have to do the dissecting thing again? If so, I'll be the frog.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. You can be the cat that I skinned way back when. But yeah, so whenever it comes down to it, like this whole movement recently, it's like, well, if you don't like it, or if it doesn't make you happy, or if it's too hard for you, like, be kind to yourself and you don't have to do it. And the way that I see it, Princess, thank you so much for the follow. Wallace, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll let that read here in a second, and then I'll continue my rant.
Do you think a guy and gal can truly be friends? 'Cause usually when people start chatting, one is attracted to the other. Like, do you believe that at some point all your good guy friends liked you, or you found them attractive in a passing moment?
Wallace, thank you for the bits. I will go into that here in a second. That's a good
Interestingly,
question. Very good
I've
question.
noticed that more first-gen immigrants are the ones that go beyond. usually second and third do fall into the trap.
Yeah, culture can definitely be a huge impact on that.
This goes back to people no longer understanding what matters versus what makes you happy. People need to learn to do what matters, even if it's rough.
Very true. Just to kind of like tie into what I was saying, it's that like if you think about somebody, let's say nursing or a doctor or an engineer or an astronaut or something like that, these things are very difficult to get and they're very competitive fields. This is by no means easy. So to me, it's like if you want an easy job, that's perfectly fine, but you can't sit there and be like, well, I could be a doctor, because you're not willing to suffer for that. I mean, and if you're not willing to suffer, like nobody's gonna pay you 6 figures or more to do something that is very basic that anybody can do. I mean, there's a certain level of struggling and it showing off, and it's like it being worth it in the end. So to me, I mean, it's like I felt like it was terrible. Like I could never sleep whenever I was doing my clinicals, and then also working full time to be able to pay for my clinicals and everything. And what would drive me crazy is that there are so many people that'll sit there and be like, well, I have this or I have that, and, you know, I can't. Like, you always have an excuse. To me, it's like you are in charge of your own life. If that is perfectly fine with you and you are okay living this way, then more power to you. I'm not. So, I mean, it's just whatever you're willing to dedicate to. Because to me, I was like, let me get this stuff done as soon as I can, as young as I am, so that I, at my age, am capable of doing the things that I've dreamed of doing, and I can be more relaxed because I already established myself in a career.
I'll never forget my one and only internship in school. All the other interns were talking about how hard it was to work 5 to 10 hours a week while in school. Their jaws about hit the floor when I told them I worked 30 to 40 hours a week while
Finding proper work, school life. It is time management, but it's also a big
When
mental
I was
factor.
in college, I was a full-time student and worked 40 hours over the course of a weekend working catering. Get your hustle on, people, if you want them big bucks.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, PR. But yes, I feel like too often, there's even a lot of people in my family that are like that. Like, oh, well, it's just, you know, you're just so lucky. I'm not lucky. I made it happen. Understand the difference.
Clinicals are rough.
It didn't
I
just
remember my
fall
cousin doing his for
sky.
physical therapy assistant. I'm gonna take a hard pass on clinicals, LMAO.
Insanity. Thank you for the bits. Thank you.
People need to stop making excuses and then go on to cry about how hard stuff is when they're not putting in any kind of effort.
Yes. Definitely. Virtual,
I see
welcome
that
to
in
the stream. We're
hiring.
so happy to have you
The
here.
people we hire need to be passionate and willing to sacrifice. We pay in the top 5%, because people who sacrifice and care about what they do are rare in this society.
Yes. I mean, it's definitely a rare thing, but I feel like if you don't have that mental peace, it can only come innately from within you, because that's not something that you can necessarily teach somebody. Because as you grow up, you'll see society and you'll say, like, that's the way that I want to live, and I don't want to be like this. And also, too, whenever you guys were referencing, like, first generation Americans and so forth, I fully agree with that as well, because to me, the way I see it is I know the hardships that my family dealt with outside of America, and so for me to be able to come to America, to have a degree, to be able to own, you know, all of the stuff that I have, that, like, I truly have the opportunity to support so much. So when you have people who are generationally have been here and they kind of like have it made, it's easier to be like, this is normal, instead of understanding that this is something that some people have fought their life to get. So that's the way I see it. Like, I have always tried to do something that would make my father proud of me. You know, getting my nursing degree, becoming a physicist and so forth, that like I am so honored to be able to be in these lectures and to hear the knowledge from these people who are so far beyond me in this field that I'm so interested in. But you can also turn and be like, this sucks, like these lectures just go on for forever, I'm so tired of this, just give me the degree. So I mean, being grateful can have you look at the world completely different, because I always try to see the silver lining in things. Even if something is bad, I still like to see, like, this is what I learned from it, or maybe there's something there, you know? Where was this? Well, do you think a guy and a girl can truly be friends? Because usually when people start chatting, one is attracted to the other. Like, do you believe at some point that all your good guy friends like you, or you found them attractive in a passing moment? I do believe girls and guys can be friends, but I do think that is very common.
I agree with you 1000%, but I have also seen a lot of people fight real hard for their dreams, and take hits that a very small percentage would overcome. Some have, some haven't.
Yes. And once again, like, that comes from the individual themselves of what they're capable of handling.
So you said that motivation has to come from within. Do you believe in intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation being more effective?
I think it depends on the person, Pac. I'll answer the guys and girls question thing first. But I think that girls and guys can be friends, but I think it's usually very normal for one of the two to develop feelings towards the other. I feel like the majority of male friends that I have at some point have said that they are interested in me or something like that. But at that point too, you can either say like, look, I'm not attracted to you in that way.
Are rewarded. However, all those who succeed have worked hard.
Very true, Messa. Very, very true. Thank you for the donation. So I think that yes, they can be friends, but I do think also a sense of friendship can develop into something more, and I think that it's understandable and not too far-fetched that one of the two will start to develop feelings at some point.
Hive is intrinsically motivated to be the best mod ever because B refuses to pay me. I would love to be extrinsically motivated.
Hi, thank you for the donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My goodness.
3 years of 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. manual labor, then straight to school and sit in lectures from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. It was a major sacrifice, and not everyone could have done it. But it was 100%.
Yeah, it's worth it. But other people can't always
So
see.
B, what's your opinion on people who complain about their job but still stay with that job? Like, I complain about the army all the time, but I still keep signing that contract again and again.
Zesty. It's very Allie, so I made a cocktail based on Final Fantasy Goo-Boos, which is what this is. It's green and it looks kind of interesting, like a goo-boo, but that's what that is. So what happens is whenever you struggle through something difficult, usually only people who have also struggled to a comparable level will be able to understand you in that way, right? Like, if you have somebody who everything was handed to them throughout life, like they were fed by a golden spoon, they're not going to understand how hard you fought to get through engineering. Now, other people who are at that level, even if they're not in your same specialty, like if one is in medicine and you're an engineer, they will understand the struggle and the sacrifice that you did to get there. And so I think that that's a lot of issues because they talk, I actually did a lot of research on this as well, about like the psychological aspects of like medicine and how there is a massive rate of infidelity among doctors, engineers, and there was one other, lawyers. And why is that? So if you start to look into it, what ends up happening is that they end up getting the spouse that they may be attracted to, but at the end of the day, that person may love them, you may love them as well, but they are incapable of understanding you, and that there is such a factor of suffering that leads them to be at the height of everything. So that's kind of an interesting thing because I talk about this a lot, about acceptance and understanding somebody and the mindset, because if you're dealing with somebody who has never really experienced anything difficult, they're not going to understand what it's like to get to work level 1 trauma, or to deal with a situation like cracking somebody's chest, or to lose a child like in the ER or something like that, that they are at home dealing with the laundry or whatever. Not that that's bad, but it's just curious that throughout human evolution, acceptance is a major factor.
And those guy physicists, cheaters, every one of them, just to poison the well there too for you if you get tempted, lol.
Pat, thank you for the bits. Thank you. But I think it's a huge part that it is very difficult to be with somebody who cannot understand what it took to get you there. Because somebody might be like, oh, you're an engineer, you make a lot of money, like you can provide a good lifestyle for me, which is fine. But if somebody can't talk to you and relate to you and understand just what that worth is and the cost that it was to get you to that place, a lot of times they will go out and seek someone who can understand them that way. which is why a lot of like doctors and doctors have affairs and engineers have affairs on work trips and so forth, because it's like an understanding. And they may not even fully love that person they're having an affair with, but they give them something that they need that they can't get from someone who came from a different walk of life. If that makes any sense. Just trying to tell you guys from the research that I've worked on and that I can speak of. I just thought it was interesting and curious. Insanity, your opinion on people who complain about their job but still stay with that job. I like to complain at the army all the time, but I keep signing that contract again and again. There's a difference between complaining and whining. So we all have things where it's like, these things annoy me, this is irritating, and it's just kind of like, ugh, this sucks. But there's also another thing to just be like, poor me, like I'm always a victim, and like this sucks. And it's like, there can be a completely different mindset. Gaming, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate you. I'm like, how do I want to express this? How do I want to say this? So if you have somebody who's constantly, like let's say works at McDonald's, and it's like, I don't ever make enough, you know, I can't do this and I can't do that, but they're not willing to change, not willing to change any of their circumstances.
I completely agree. Even my parents, though they were supportive, didn't really get it. Whereas my sister, who is a nurse and got her degree in like 2 years and worked super hard for it, completely gets it. At
789, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate you, Zesty. At least from an education standpoint, not necessarily from a subject matter perspective. Never read up on the infidelity research though, so can't speak on that part. Yes, so to me, there's a big difference whenever it comes down to somebody being like, I can't afford this and I can't pay for that, and then my boss sucks and my boss hates me. And it's like, of course you're gonna sit there and you're gonna see yourself as a victim. Like, I'm not paid enough, but also you're paid for the job that you're capable of doing, are you not? So if you wanna change it, you need to dedicate yourself to get the education needed. And I've said this many times in the OR, quite a few times, whenever I've had my own OR suite on these
So could you be with a guy who works at McDonald's, is content with that, doesn't complain, but that's his best self?
I'll say this real quick, and then I'll go into that path. And thank you so much for the bits. But I had said many times where I had a surgical tech that was getting on me and telling me kind of like what to do. And I basically said, I was like, look, you want to play the role? Like, get the education to play that role. Because as of right now, like, this is far beyond your scope. And I mean, if that's the role that you want to play, then go to school and earn it. Because as of this point, you haven't. You're like way big, like you are talking way out of line. And then not only that, like you think you are far more important than what you are. You do not have the license to decide these things. And I say that, I love techs, but it's the same thing to me as if I would have said that to a doctor. I would be out of line to say that we have the same scope. There are some things that they are capable of doing that I am not capable of doing. Now, did I spend 10 years in school to do that and then more in my residency? I didn't. And I understand that. So I think it is wonderful. I love techs. I love nursing assistants and stuff like that. But if you want to play the role, you better have the credentials to back what you're saying. Because out of right now, like there are some people, be it nurses, be it techs, that will go off and say something like the nurse doesn't know what they're talking about or the doctor doesn't know what they're talking about. You don't get to make that call because you don't have the education nor the degree to say that. So you can bring things up to me that we can talk about, but at the end of the day, like if it is my patient, it is my decision and I have the license, and God forbid I make the wrong choice, then I will stand in front of the board and I will rationalize why I did what I did. So for sometimes, I've seen this happen a lot with like nursing students, like they're scared to ask the nursing assistants to do something. And I'm like, you shouldn't, because at the end of the day—
Say it louder for the people in the back. They can't hear these facts, Bog Champ.
Messa, thank you for the donation. Assassins, thank you so much for being a sub for 4 months. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Because we all have our role to play. And if you want to play a different role, then you are more than welcome to do it if you're willing to work for it, you know? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I function at the capacity of an MD. Absolutely not.
That's our B, stand your ground and bite their heads off.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. But that's one thing that drives me crazy because sometimes I feel like this happens quite often. It'll be the text that'll be like, I know far more than any of them do. They don't know what they're talking about and they'll like disregard them. And I'm like, you may feel that, you may believe it, you may even be right. But if you don't have the degree and the license to back that up, then what you're saying is just complaining because you can't do anything about it, you know? And that happens quite a bit too with nurses, to where they're like, this guy doesn't know what the heck they're talking about and whatever. It's like, well, they're far more educated than you. They've passed their board, so they're legally capable of practicing medicine. So you can bring a concern to them, but I can't sit there and fight anything that is outside of my scope in that sense.
How do you feel about nurses coming in looking ratty AF? I don't want my nurses coming in my room with their eyelashes falling off and nails
eyelashes
sounding like
falling off?
flamenco clavinets. What happened to nursing field guild?
Okay, hold on. Let me answer this real quick. Pat, can you be with a guy that works at McDonald's, is content with that, but doesn't complain, and is the best self? I mean, I feel like that'd be kind of difficult because I've already said that for me personally, somebody needs to understand kind of what it took for me to get here. Not that I'm looking for sympathy, not that I ever want to be treated as a victim, but that you understand the things that drive me and like the course that I'm on, because you can be in two completely different fields. And once again, like I'm not expecting someone to get a PhD in physics or to have like 2 bachelor's degrees or anything like that, but it depends on your capability to understand the individual. And I think that is a major factor to it. And I personally think that if somebody's, the amount that they wanted to achieve was a minimum wage job like that, I mean, probably we're not going to overlap on our values. Not saying that that person is any less, and if they're happy, then I am more than happy for them. But whenever it comes down on the capacity and being able to communicate and to understand somebody, I feel like they typically would not understand me the way that I need them to understand me, if that makes any sense. Hi, Eve, how do you feel about nurses coming in looking ratty? I think that anytime that you're dealing with any type of professional career, you should dress and look the part. Because I've seen many nurses that have like decayed teeth and just terrible poor hygiene and then just come in like looking like a train wreck. And I think to myself that if that was my family member, I wouldn't trust them if they knew what they were talking about, if they can't take care of themselves.
But I do have my EIT. And though I literally cannot do anymore to get closer to my license until I have finished 3 more years of work, my coworkers recognize the fact I have my EIT, compared.
I don't know what that means. I apologize. I don't know what an EIT is.
I will always say this: no one is more patriotic and driven than people who immigrate and their kids.
That is very true. Zesty, yeah, I don't know what an EIT is. I apologize. When you say a PE, I assume you mean petroleum engineer, but I also don't know. But yeah, I'm not really that versed in the speak of the engineering world. We also don't act like your PE, not to those letters legally behind my name. Yeah. That's one of the things too. It's like whenever you sign your name and you can put your credentials behind it, I mean, that's an interesting thing too. Just like in medicine, you know, like that'll blow me away that somebody will say like, we're gonna do this, 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 and this. Okay, now you sign this paper. It's like, 'cause you're not capable of signing it, you don't have the credentials, but I have the credentials, so I make the call, right? But yeah, it's a very difficult thing to do. And I think Zesty, in that type of situation, that's kind of like how I had said that, like, could you be with somebody who couldn't understand the difficulty of that? Or would it not affect you? Curious, but like honest and truly, do you feel like you could be with somebody that was just like, yeah, I mean, he's happy and then he's stable and he has a good career, like that would be a good choice for me. But if they couldn't understand you or they couldn't communicate with you,
when you get married, would you prefer to keep your name for when you win the Nobel?
Insanity, thank you for the bits. But very true.
Bianca just wanted to say how appreciated we are of you for taking time to stream. You don't do it because you have 2 you actually love too. When they talk about real heroes you are during this time, I am always in awe of you.
More cocktails. DX, thank you so much for the bits. That's so sweet of you to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Girl. That would be pretty epic to get the Nobel Prize. But I'm very traditional whenever it comes down to that kind of stuff anyways, that to me personally, I feel like women should take, not that they should, but I think, I'm very traditional with my values. I'm trying to think of how to express this or how to say it. But I would take their last name if I was going to be in that situation. I understand that there's people who hyphenate their names. I understand that there are people who will not take their names. I totally understand that. However, me personally, I'm very traditional on a lot of those types of values, I guess. But then also to remember that my family is not American, so my views are very traditional. I'm eternally
single, but I have trouble being friends with people that refuse to better themselves. So I'm 100% sure that it'd bleed into romantic relationships as well.
Yeah. I can understand that, Zesty. I can definitely understand that. You want to surround yourself with people that are going
You're
up.
a real woman. What happened to girls like you?
Hi, thank you for the donation. Thank you. But yeah, to each their own, to each relationship their own. It's just personally,
I love suffering, pain, and failure in life. It has made me stronger when I succeed and learn from it. The failure of courting you. The suffering that if we dated and I denied you coitus until we were together for a while.
Respawn, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Wallace, thank you for the bits. Thank you. Chris, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate you. Welcome to the stream. We're so happy to have you here. But yeah, I mean, as times change, people kind of, certain things will work in certain relationships and then they won't in different types of relationships. But I guess it just depends on your values and so forth, you know? What you're interested in and what you're not interested in and what is okay with you and what isn't. We like your fox ears. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. DX, can you make a purple looking cocktail next time? I'm sure I could come up with something. I'm sure.
Think about it. If you married me, you'd be able to keep your initials Antisera Teehee.
Eric, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you so much. Red, you're a very classy lady. It's so refreshing to see this in this age of cheap and easy women. I am telling you. I mean, yeah, and see, that's the thing too, is that I struggle often with, you know, I can't even necessarily say that one way is right and one way is wrong. I can just say that one way is right or wrong for me, in my view, and my outlook in the world. And they're no less of a person, or do they have any less of a worth than I do. It's just, I guess, 2 completely different viewpoints on it. Because, yeah, I do feel like society as a whole is just like, do whatever you feel like. It's
so
like,
you're
no.
Traditional. So when you get married, you'll be all barefoot and pregnant cooking that good Argentinian food 24/7? How does your traditional family values sync with your inherent drive and goals?
Pack, thank you for the bits. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the follow. Carl, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you. My goodness. I mean, I'll let this play.
Sorry, off topic. Who was you Soul Calibur main? It's been driving me mad all day.
Ivy. I'm a huge Ivy fan. Big time Ivy fan. I mean, it's kind of like changed as the more games, I guess, have come out, but I'm usually always pretty much an Ivy stan. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so with this whole society of just kind of like do whatever you want and like,
so does that traditional view on marriage also apply to, let's say, virtual relationships? Cause I think there's one more code you have to redeem, Antisera Teehee.
That had to be dying laughing, PR. Dying laughing.
I saw Ivy being your main a mile away, haha.
Retsu, thank you for the bits. Thank you. Okay, yeah, so this last thing that I'll touch, I know this is like beating a dead horse at this point, but what I want to say is just because you feel like you are inclined to do something doesn't necessarily mean that that is the right action. And that's quite a bit when I say about like people suffering and like having values. It's harder to have values versus just to like give in to temptation or to give in to bad thoughts and so forth and do whatever the heck you want and then just destroy your honor, your morals, and everything.
I am down with Dr. and Mr. Bianca Wallace.
Wallace. Thank you so much for the bits. Thank you. Zeppelin, thank you so much for the follow. I really, really appreciate you. But yeah, it's much harder to keep your morals, to treat yourself with respect, to treat other people with respect, to hold your tongue whenever you want to lash out. These things are very difficult to do, and I feel like at this point people are gonna say, you're fine for doing that.
Bigami, good ring to it.
Bigami? Girl, thank you so much for the bits. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But what ends up happening is I feel like now there's so many people are like yes men, and they're like, they want to tell you whatever you want to hear. It's like, girl, you do you. If that's what you feel like doing, then who's gonna tell you like to not do it? I say do it. I'd be like, don't do it. I mean, think of your sense of honor. I mean, think about the things that you're doing. Just because you want to do something does not mean that that is the right option. Like, think about it logically. So just because you feel that you must fight it, and be strong enough to fight it.
Bitsu, or be Antiseretsu? I don't if that works as well, ha ha ha.
Ratsu, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How did your traditional family values sync with your inherent drives and goals? That's a good question.
B. Would you be comfortable going into the circumstances behind your family emigrating to the US? If this is upsetting or something you just don't want to share, then I completely understand.
Moscow, thank you for the bits. I don't mind talking about it much. I mean, my family came from Argentina. Back in the day, it was extremely corrupt. And I'm not gonna go too far into like my family dynamics and so forth, but it was not good for my families.
Either way works for me.
PR, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. My family, it's quite interesting. I have a lot of Austrian blood, actually, believe it or not, which is why I feel like I look more Austrian than your typical Argentinian woman. But my family was kind of all over Europe. I have a lot of Austrian blood. They ended up going to Italy, Spain, so forth, ending up in Argentina. Why that happened, I'm not gonna go into too much. But a lot of things were very corrupt whenever it came down to Argentina, where the government would be able to freeze your assets. You wouldn't be able to, kind of like what happened, you know, like in Russia recently, where people were freaking out trying to go to the bank, trying to like get their money out, and you can't get it out because they can just freeze your assets. Especially too, my family had a lot of dealings with exports, and they would just hold the items, and then you can't even export these things out. I mean, things were very corrupt. And even when these things would go wrong, I mean, just
are you Hitler's great-granddaughter?
Kuro, thank you for the bits. No. Definitely not. But there's many things that were corrupt. There's also like, I feel like that's all I can say on this for right now. But the whole meaning of it is that my parents wanted to come here to be able to be in a situation where it was easier for me to go to school.
Exports,
and that I could live the American dream.
So your family were drug lords, eh?
Hater, thank you for the bits. Thank you. But it's funny too, because I get quite a bit that I don't look like a typical Argentinian woman, or that I don't look very Hispanic and so forth, and that's the reason why, because I get this in my DMs quite a bit. I feel like I do look more Austrian because that's a lot of my bloodline.
Your family had to move all over because you're immortals, and if you stay in one place too long, people will figure it out.
You got me.
It's in the eyes. You can tell. I saw a movie on how this ends. Sorry, we're not getting married.
Pat, thank you for the bits. Thank you. Is it gonna play? Why isn't it gonna play? Luke, thank you so much for the bits. B, I love the fact that you and I had the same drive in fighting tooth and nail to obtain our bachelor's degrees. Yours in nursing and physics, and mine in political science. A quote once said that tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for the day. Yes. Yes. I agree. It's a lot, because there's a different mindset of people who will wake up early and to do things that are productive in the world versus people who want to like sleep in and then just do nothing. I mean, the fight is a fight, most definitely. Romeo, what's up? How are you doing? So back to my family immigrating to America, they basically wanted to give me like the American dream, which I believe that I have achieved. And I mean, I worked hard for it, but you know, I was in a place here where I was capable of being basically whatever I wanted to be. Now, there was definitely a big fight whenever it came down to when I was in EMS. My dad thought that that was not a suitable profession for women. So he fought me tooth and nail for that. And I also told him that it wasn't my intention to stay in there forever. It was just an easier stepping stone for me to be able to pay for my nursing education and so forth through that. But I mean, there's definitely been a lot of fights between all of that where my father didn't necessarily
When did they
agree
leave
with
Argentina?
my choices.
Do you know who was in power at that time? Henry Kissinger might owe you an apology.
Moscow, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you. Well, quite a few years ago,
B, you
considering
would
that
have
I'm
had a
84.
connection with
quite,
me today.
Quite a
If you
while.
were around, I had to take a leaking fuel tank out of a truck using a cutting torch while laying on the ground. Fun times, ha ha ha. I got the tank out anyways.
What? Eric, that sounds ridiculous. What
B,
do
you are
mean?
one of a kind. Your intelligence, kindness, rational and sense of self will always set you apart in any group. I don't think I've ever met anyone who is anywhere near as amazing and wonderful as you.
That's so sweet. Insanity. That hit me right in the feels. Insanity. Thank you so much. That is so sweet.
B's family left because they supported the wrong side in the Falklands War.
I'm not gonna go into any of those dynamics, but very interesting, I guess, a turn of events that have had me end up here and my family end up in Argentina. But Insanity, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Pack, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you.
So when you argue with your dad, is he more emotional or more logical?
He's logical, but he's also a man of like very few words whenever it comes down to things of like actual weight. Like he'll joke around and he'll like laugh at things that are serious to kind of make it not as serious of a situation. Whenever it comes down to like deep types of conversations, he does not like to have them to begin with. So he's like a man of very few words whenever it comes down to that kind of stuff. Or if he doesn't agree with, you know, me going to EMS. And then of course too, like that turned into a train wreck so that he feels validated.
You say you're weird, but you are the example of what people should be. I love the fact that you are uniquely you regardless of what people think you should be. You do you, not best worded maybe, but I hope you get me.
That's so sweet, Kuro. Thank you so much. That means so much. I really appreciate you. But whenever I got into EMS, I mean, there was multiple situations that just went very bad, and like I've been held at gunpoint. I mean, I've looked down the barrel of a gun before, and it's hard when you're fighting for your future to be what you want to be, but then also it's like you're fighting up against like my dad, who is very foreign on his ideology about things that I can and cannot do. So then it's like I get into EMS, multiple bad situations have happened, and then of course too, I mean, it gets crazy in Houston. So then that in particular pissed him off to like no end, because then he's like, I told you not to do it, and then I'm his only kid, so he's freaking out with me like, you know, I immigrated to this country for you to be here and you're just gonna throw it away with your stupid decisions. And I was like, I didn't intentionally put myself at gunpoint, but I happened. Insanity, thank you so much. Thank you.
Bianca Antisera.
Insanity, thank you so much for the gifted subs. Thank you. Paul, what's up? We haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? You're watching me on the Oculus? Can you see me in like full virtual reality? That would be pretty cool, right? That would be awesome. Insanity, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hi! Look at my skirt, my god. Retsu, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll let this go through. I think it's almost the end of it, and then it'll start reading what you said. PR, thank you so much for the bits. I really, really appreciate you. This might actually take a little bit. Let me see how far down the line we are. Okay, wait, this is the last one. Then it'll play your stuff. Good deal.
Send it.
Insanity, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You call yourself an acquired taste, and yet everyone adores you and realizes how much of who you are should be a standard Antisera. Love, nice subs. Insanity.
Retsu, thank you for the bits. I say an acquired taste more so because I have very odd hobbies.
Was his concern more for your
interests.
well-being having to be out in this dangerous world, or did he just have a different career path in mind for you?
It wasn't a different career path.
Latina heat and Asian persuasion, nurse and military, doctor and willing test subject, Beauty and the Beast, Rick and Morty, devotion and desire. Sounds like we would make an amazing power couple.
Wallace, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So who supported you emotionally during that time frame you were struggling in EMS? It's hard when you have naysayers when you're sacrificing for your future. Friends? Other family members? Puddles? XBF?
Puddles. Let me answer this real quick and then I'll go into that. Was his concern more for your well-being or being put in this dangerous world, or did he just have a different career path for you? It's not the career path, it's just that there are some things that he felt, yeah, was just dangerous for me. So he would have preferred me do something like to go and, you know, to get my degree, let's say like physics, he wouldn't have had an issue with. He just didn't want me to be on the ambulance, specifically for the reason that what happened, right? I mean, because there have been many very dangerous situations, and then my dad being a fireman on top of that, he knew how it was and he knew how dangerous it is, and so he did not want me to do that. He was very much for me being a nurse, but he did not want me out in the field per se. And I understand it. I do understand it. And that was a thing too that I was trying to explain to him, that I was like, this is a stepping stone for my future. It is not going to be my career, and that it more power to men and women who are in EMS. But I think my dad was just scared because of what he's seen working in that field, that he did not want me to be placed in that field.
Be shush ya mouth. You know we all love you. Subs don't describe well enough how much we genuinely love and care about you. And we are eternally grateful that you take your own time to hang out and talk to us.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you. Pac, who supported you emotionally during that time frame? I mean, I've always been a very reserved person whenever it comes to my actual emotions and my feelings. And I feel like that is a lot due to the culture that I grew up in, because like my dad will never cry in front of me. He basically anything that he can keep from me that could be upsetting, he would. That's just how it's always been. My grandmother as well. Like, it's just, you don't let other people see you cry. You don't talk about your emotions. That's almost like a taboo type situation. And I have had to learn as I've gotten older how to express myself. And I'm still not very good at it, because sometimes I will literally want to say things and I physically cannot, which is funny because my dad will say the same thing too. It's like, I want to say something, but I cannot say it. It's crazy. So it's hard because whenever you've fought your entire life to not express yourself, then whenever you get into a situation where somebody expects you to express yourself, it can be very hard, because if they don't understand that, they can see it as like you're just trying to be difficult, and it's like, you're not trying to be difficult, it's just going against something that's been kind of hardwired through you. And I'm capable of recognizing that that's not healthy per se, and I try to rectify it in ways that I can, but it can certainly be a difficult mesh by far. Brian, I'm happy you're here, Brian. I was gonna be playing Kingdom Hearts today, but my game blew up and destroyed my computer.
Be proud. I did my HW. I was talking with a friend at the gym the other day and I got to lay out some Antisera wisdom about how the word is so emotionally driven and the struggles that brings for logical thinkers with more traditional values.
Zesty, thank you for the bits. See, and I'm happy that I can impart anything on you guys to where you guys can go out in the world and stuff that I say is valid.
Asking for a friend, situation. What steps have you tried if you don't mind me asking?
Kuro. That's kind of hard to say. Thank you for the bits. It's gonna be very difficult for me to express in general, but I had a very rough childhood and it was very, very traumatic all throughout my life. And so as I was little, I wasn't capable of bonding with people or having any relationships towards anybody. I was just like I couldn't feel anything. And they took me to the doctor several times because my teachers and everybody around me thought that I was autistic and I was incapable of making bonds with anybody. But in reality, I think it was just more so that I never felt that I had a bond towards anyone, because I remember specifically, I didn't understand like why my family or my parents would love me. I felt like a parasite. And so I found this book at the library, and it was a little kid's book, and it was literally titled Why My Parents Love Me. And so to me, I'm like, I'm gonna get to the root of this. I have this book now, and I'm gonna figure out why. It's all gonna make so much sense. And so as I was reading through it, of course, it was just like a little BS kid book that was like, because I'm awesome, and that my mommy loves me, and stuff like that, but it didn't answer the question that I had fought so hard to figure out. So it took time because I had to start to learn social cues from people and how to respond to somebody, even if I didn't feel the emotion, to say, you know, this makes me happy, even when it didn't, because that's what people say in this situation. So a lot of it was faking it till you make it, until you begin to finally understand that happiness is a real thing and that you're not incapable of the things that you thought you were incapable of. Because the way I saw it is, I thought everybody was lying and that people would just say these things because these are just things that they say. But I did not believe that, you know, people would love me. I did not believe that there was a thing called happiness. I don't know. I was very, very cold. Very, very cold. So it's unfortunate, but as I've gotten older, I've started to
So much about what you said before makes so much sense now. It also makes so much more sense as to how you can understand so well. Well then.
Retsu, thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So an in-depth conversation about your feelings with a future SO will be cringeworthy for you? Emotional intimacy will be difficult without that communication. You seem good now with an ability to express yourself. How are you?
No, I mean, I'm definitely capable of having conversations about feelings. I've gotten much better than I was at a time to where, I mean, I understand that some people are emotionally driven and that some things that I could say can come off like very frank.
I won't say I get all of you, but I do understand you a lot more than you can imagine.
Kuro, that breaks my heart. If you can understand where I'm coming from, Kuro, truly it does. But thank you for the bits. When it comes down to emotional intimacy, there are some people who are very open about how they feel. And they're like, I want to tell you my life story. I want to tell you how much I love you and how like everything is like sunshine and rainbows. And that's perfectly fine because I mean, these people probably came from childhoods that are full of love and happiness. And, you know, their parents made them breakfast in the morning and it was just beautiful. And that's wonderful. And that like that, they're not any less of a person because they got to experience that, nor would I dislike the person or not understand them because they had a different upbringing than I did. But you also have to understand on both sides who you're dealing with, because there are some people that are super emotional that I would watch the way that I talked because they're probably going to take offense to it because it's like, ow, like, you know, you hurt my feelings. Where to me, it's just like, that's just a statement. I have the choice to take it whichever way I want, but I don't take offense to it. So you have to be cognizant of who you're talking to.
Great, now I just want to hug little B and tell her she is loved and that everything will get better. And try not to cry.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. Thank you. Lenny, what's up? How are you doing? On that note.
B, you have stunned me silent before, but now I just want to hug you.
PR, thank you for the bits. Thank you.
My mom and dad are like that and have been married for 50 years. It seems to work. My dad is the emotional strength and open, and my mom is your typical, Latina. That yin and yang in a relationship.
Let's see here.
What a great day for rain. We love you, B. It's always hard to hear about childhood difficulties. We're just glad you took and made yourself into someone beautiful, amazing.
Pack, thank you for the bits. Zesty, thank you for the bits. Wallace, thank you for the bits. King, thank you for the
B,
bits.
we cherish you for being the beest, B. I think I can speak on behalf of everyone in chat that the only thing any of us would want to change about you is your last name.
That's so
Understandable. I never fit in when I was a child. Always moving. 1 minute, military brat. Another moment, college campus child. Then inner city, then other countries. It fragmented.
It's hard. Very difficult.
As someone else who had a traumatic childhood, I can tell you that the key to opening up emotionally involves a flail, a gimp suit, and an agreed upon safe word.
Moscow, thank you for the bits. I think it just started raining.
Antisera hugs, Antisera love, Antisera smoochies.
PR, thank you. So much.
Relationships
LG,
or
what's
partnerships.
up?
It involves learning, growing, and understanding each other. It takes time and a lot of failure but effort to make it work.
Definitely.
I am gonna
y'all hear
add
the
2 things to
wind?
what Wallace said. We want to change your eating and sleeping habits, but nothing else.
Insanity, thank you for the...
Good evening, beautiful. How are you this awesome Friday? Obviously,
Mocha!
I've come in the middle of a trauma story,
Mocha, thank you so much for being a sub for 19 months. How are you doing, Mocha? How are you?
B, it breaks my heart as much as it breaks yours. All I can say is thank you. God only knows how much I appreciate you. Also, chat. Breaks my heart to hear you all know this well. I wouldn't...
Ratsu, thank you for the bits. I mean, I understand that it can sound sad, but I don't want it to. Because at the end of the day, if I had to choose the life that I lived versus like a perfect world where I had everything given to me, I still would always have chose the path that I'm on currently. Because I recognize the worth of everything that I've done to get here, but then also too that I'm capable of knowing that there's some ways that like what I want to be and then what I very truly do not want to be. And at the end of the day as well, I could have turned out completely different. I mean, I could have been just an absolute terror. I could have been one of those girls with no values, no morals, no any of that. So I'm very, very proud and happy of the way that I came out of it, even based on that. And I feel like that is a positive on my side versus I don't see it as like a negative, like super sad, because it was sad, yes. But it also paved the way for who I am today. So happy for that. If that makes any sense. I would always choose this path time and time again.
B. As much as I would want to make your childhood better, I would be so afraid it would change the vision of perfection in front of us today, helping us through every day. Every struggle you went through gave you more strength to give.
That's so sweet, Hi. Thank you. Thank you.
You've overcome so much, B, and it really shows with how much of an amazing person you've grown to become. Never stop growing on this path you're on.
Thank you, hater. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Maybe it's optimistic, but I just wish people could have the same lessons without that pain. Know what I mean? I'd never change a thing either.
Yes, but I think also pain is a very, very valuable tool. Welcome to the stream. We're so happy to have you here. How are you doing? Pain is a very powerful thing because I mean, it's like whenever you touch the stove and it burns you, you learn to like pull your hand back and to not do that again. So you can kind of learn from pain in a way that you couldn't learn from something else, because it's just like parents and so forth will tell you, don't do this. But then if you have no pain or you haven't learned from experience, you might say, like, you brush it off far easier than if you had burned yourself from it. You know? It's a very powerful tool, but I understand what you're saying.
I just want to give hugs for the rest of my eternity life and protect you from the bad. You're loved by everyone here, B. Never lose that bright smile of yours.
Sin, that's so sweet. Thank you so much.
Or, wait. Plot twist. B is dead inside and is just an incredible actor. #2real4hive.
I very well could be. I question that about myself quite often. I am just this husk of a person.
I missed the story, but I do know that you and I have more in common than we would like regarding past stuff. Just know that I love you.
Right in the feels, Mocha. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I think overall, you can have the vision of saying like, okay, well, my mom was an alcoholic and everybody in my family is an alcoholic, so like, I'm an alcoholic too because I am a child of an alcoholic. You can say that, or you can see it as, you know, I don't want to live that life. I see the damage that you have done to yourself and to your family, and I refuse to be like that. But that's far more difficult and more of a rare standpoint to see, because whenever you're a kid, you kind of just like deal with whatever is considered your norm. So if that's normal to you, it's like if your parent talks bad or down to you, you'll start to think that's the norm and you'll treat other people like that, or you'll get in a relationship where somebody will treat you like that and you'll think that's normal because that's the way that your parents talk to you, which is still not okay.
You aren't a husk. I have deadly accurate intuition. 4.5 head Kuro.
Moscow. I wanted to say Moscow. I saw Mocha and Kuro and it made Moscow in my mind somehow. Kuro,
you can't know good
so
without
much.
bad,
Thank you.
joy without pain, or happiness without sadness. It all plays its part
sour.
in who we are and who we can become.
Very true, Zesty. 1000%. That saying, without the sour, the sweet wouldn't taste.
So how will your struggles and dynamic affect how you'll raise your own kids? I mean, you are going to be barefoot and pregnant when we get married cooking that great Argentinian food, right? Kidding.
Pac, thank you for the bits. I don't know, honestly. You know, I think sometimes...
Bianca Antisera, you could never be dead inside. You are far too kind, caring and thoughtful to be just some empty husk. You think that crap again and I'll grab my mallet and break your dang legs and then stay to help your recovery.
Insanity! Just like an extreme insanity. Thank you so much. The way that I think about a lot of these things is I think that when you have somebody who comes from difficult situations...
B, you are such an amazing and inspiring person. I love learning from you and learning about you. As the evolution of B continues, I can't wait to see how you take over the world.
PR, thank you for the bits. Thank you. What I think of often is I struggled so hard to be stable to a point, like with my education, with my finances and so forth, that if I had a kid, I feel like I have enough of the means to provide that kid a very good lifestyle. But I also worry that sometimes having everything easy and given to you isn't always the best thing either. So I mean, it has to be like a good type of balance, because I think things that become easy can make people weak. And I'm gonna use my cousin for an example here. I worked for everything that I had. I bought my own first car. I, saved up for it. So I understood the value of $1. Now, my cousin, on the other hand, had everything given to him. They always had like a crazy massive house, and like his first car was a brand new Camaro that he ended up totaling into the side of Home Depot doing donuts in the parking lot, because he just didn't understand, one, the value of $1 or anything to that capacity. So when he totaled his car, he was just like, man, that sucks. And to me, I'm like, I would have been so distraught if my brand new Camaro that I paid for was totaled. And like, you just don't care at all. Like, you laugh this stuff off. So you could have killed yourself. You could have killed your passenger. So I think it's an interesting balance, because I do think things that are given to people causes people to be weak. But also too, it's like whenever it comes down to it, just because you necessarily have the means for something doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. Because in my situation, I'd be like, I'm not gonna get you a brand new Camaro for you to kill yourself or total into the side of Home Depot. But I mean, to each their own, you know. It's just an interesting dynamic that I kind of work on in my head, because people who struggle want things better for their future children and generations, but then also too, that can also breed weakness because they don't have to struggle or truly work for anything. So you have to kind of understand the balance of, you're not gonna get something for everything, you know? I don't know. I don't have children, but it would be curious. I don't fully know how I would approach it, truthfully.
Make those future kids of yours work at GameStop. I think that's the key. Gives them perspective and good stories.
Philly, thank you so much for the follow. Anthony, thank you so much for the follow. Oh, thank you so much for being ASAP for 14 months.
Kids, I agree to have kids work in some way, for everything.
Thank you,
I had drive because of it. My parents were creative in figuring ways for me to earn.
Yes. Agree, 100%.
No parent OS ever 100% ready for a child. It's always a worry, always a trail.
Yeah. That's what I've been told. Everybody's like, you're never ready for it, but who knows? When I cross that bridge one day, I'll figure it out, I guess, eventually. Who even knows? But yeah, it's all an interesting dynamic overall. All interesting. Who knows for sure? I don't know what the future holds.
There is two sides to it. Parenting is hard for that reason. Some people see the life they want and work hard to keep it. Some people have nothing and don't see a way up. I've seen so many variations of the story that you have to read the kid before you can know.
Right. Definitely, Kuro. Thank you so much for the bits. I think about when I was little, my dad used to let me play Max Payne, where they like murder his wife and child. And I was like,
that's why being an uncle is
God!
so much fun. You can give them back and get a full night's sleep.
I agree. 100% zesty. I love my cousin's children, and I'll take them happily.
Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. Jesus probably.
Hi. Thank you for the donation. Thank you.
Cross it if you want to, and by leave you are ready.
Snake, thank you for the bits. Thank you. But talking about like reading kids, I remember watching that, like seeing Max Payne and those situations and being like, wow, that's crazy, but this is a video game. But you also have to watch kids, because there are some kids that'll see that and like they can't disassociate, like this is not reality, this is a video game. So I mean, it just depends on the type of kid. Like if the kid is super violent and spazzy, then can't control themselves with their emotions, you don't want to have them play a video game where the wife and kid are slaughtered before you. You know, it just, a lot of it is reading the kid, most definitely, because some kids are capable of understanding it, some kids are not capable of understanding it, so you just have to kind of figure out what type of child they are.
Uncle Insanity may or may not have given his nephew an energy drink and sent him back to his parents. And may have gotten chewed the heck out by mama.
Insanity, thank you for the bits. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Mine is usually cookies, or like baking cookies, or baking a cake or a pie or something. Like, we'll eat all this, then I'm gonna send you back to your parents, all full and hopped up on sugar. What's up, Cry? How are you doing? What is up? How has your day been? My God, I streamed way longer than I had intended to stream, but we're almost to 2 hours. This would probably be a good place to stop. Remember, tomorrow, early stream.
I've seen a bunch of people have 2 or 3 kids and try to raise them all the same, and fail the others because they aren't all the same.
Right, definitely. Kuro, thank you so much for the bits. Definitely, like whenever it came down to me and he's my stepbrother, but I just call him my little brother. We are so vastly different, because to me, like I always tried to live up to this notion of having my dad be proud of me. And so I would never say or do anything that I ever felt that would impact the way that he saw me. And versus like my little brother, who could like care less, like didn't care at all. And so to me, like I didn't have to be disciplined, because like I was always thinking about like, I don't want to disappoint you.
I am very proud of you. You are truly an inspiration after listening to your childhood. Continue believing in yourself as I believe in you.
You're so sweet, Luke. Thank you. So sweet.
My nephew Winston is a ham. He is too. We take him how to say Hadoken and you shall not pass like Gandalf.
That is adorable, Wallace. Thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you.
Night B, sending you hugs. I'm back to working every day again, so we'll try to catch you when I can.
Mocha.
Big love to you.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Mocha. I really, really appreciate it. Even if it's just for a little bit, it still means the absolute world, Mocha. Thank you so, so, so much. This is gonna be the end of the stream, basically. I'm just gonna touch on this real quick. Then we'll wrap it up.
Well, with the early stream tomorrow, I won't be around, sadly. Building guns with my dad and brother, so I'll hopefully be back for Sunday.
Epic.
Have a great time
Wonderful.
tomorrow, everyone.
Zesty, I hope you have fun. That sounds awesome.
B, I know you wanted to play Kingdom Hearts tonight and couldn't. So thank you for just chatting with us tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that is so crazy. It just completely nuked my computer 3 times. I don't know what the heck could have possibly happened to Kingdom Hearts, but it just refuses to work at this point. PR, thank you so much for the bit. Yeah, the last thing I was just gonna say about like my brother, because my brother, I never wanted my dad to be disappointed in me. My brother didn't care, so my dad had to discipline my brother a lot
God, you're
more
gonna
than he
make me
had to
get up
discipline
and be
me.
hungover tomorrow. I am not thrilled with you. Not mad though.
Insanity. If you don't show up to my stream, I'm gonna riot. I will riot. So yeah, he needed a lot more discipline than I did. So you definitely can't treat kids the same, because some kids need more discipline. Some kids you can just kind of like leave them to their own devices. I was the kid that would like sit at home and read through the dictionary to like find new words, because I was like, this is so cool, right? Because the more words I have, the more I can express myself. So I also read just, I was just such a geeky kid. Still am super geeky. But that is going to be the end of the stream for today. Thank you so much for the follow. I really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for putting up with me, because I had literally nothing planned. I was fully intending on playing Kingdom Hearts today, which did not work, which is sad.
Oh, and
Hopefully I
last
can
thing
figure that
about
out.
being the fun uncle, my brother and his wife were not happy when I taught their oldest how to flash for Mardi Gras beads when he was 5.
What a thing to do, Zesty! Thank you so much for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Neelan, what's up? Thank you so much for being a tier 3 sub for 15 months. You're right here at the end of the stream, Neelan. How are you doing? How are you? How are you? Sincerity, welcome to the stream. We're so happy to have you here. I wish the stream was gonna go on longer so I would be able to discuss the question. Very interesting question, and I enjoy it. But sadly, it's gonna be the end of the stream, so I can't go over it today. Neelan, you got COVID. I got COVID twice. I feel for you. I hope you don't get a bad case. But yeah, so remember that tomorrow it's gonna be an early stream. It's gonna be at noon tomorrow. It'll probably be another just chatting stream, unless I can figure out how to get Kingdom Hearts to work, which I don't know. It's fighting me big time. Blue, thank you so much for the follow. I love you guys so much. Once again, thank you for putting up with me, because I literally had nothing planned. But thank you for being here, listening to me rant. I absolutely love you guys. You guys mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you tomorrow.